So this here is the HomePod, Apple's step into the sound game for your home. So Apple recently released the HomePod, which is an at-home speaker for those of you in the Apple ecosystem. I'll explain why I say that later on in the video, but I wanted to give you my first impressions of it after using it for a little over 24 hours. So in the box, it's pretty simple. The packaging just comes with your speaker and your power cable, and also some literature like a quick start guide, and also some warranty stuff, and then an Apple sticker. The usual things that you get with an Apple product. Now it does come supplied with the power cable, which is integrated to the HomePod itself. So wherever you put this at, be sure to have the cable kind of sitting somewhere safe and not able to be tripped over by anybody. I really like the material that the cable was made out of, if that even matters. But grabbing this speaker for the first time, it did have some weight to it, more than I expected. It actually weighs about 5.5 pounds, and it was smaller than expected as well. Sits right in my hand, and the material that is used, it feels really nice. Overall, it does definitely feel like a quality speaker from first impressions. Now, just for perspective, here it is next to an iPhone 10 and an iPhone 8 Plus. It sits about the height of an iPhone 8 Plus, so you can kind of tell that it's not that big of a speaker. Now, setting up the HomePod was probably the simplest thing I have done since the AirPods. So the HomePod has the W1 chip built inside, so it makes pairing very easy. And right when you turn it on, put your iOS device next to it, and then you'll get a prompt to pair your HomePod. Simply hit setup and then you'll be good to go. Now the HomePod is going to be Siri based, but it also is going to have touch controls. And on top is where all of that sits. So on here you have the media controls, so the volume down, volume up, and also the play and pause. It's going to be right in the middle if you just tap it, but also in the middle if you tap and hold, it will activate Siri. Now let's talk a little bit about Siri with the HomePod. First impressions, first 24 hours, actually coming down on 48 hours. Siri, it's not the best. You probably already knew that from experience on iOS, but I feel like it got worse on the HomePod. And the reason I say that is because it's very, very limited at launch. Hopefully with a future update, they're gonna expand what Siri can do on the HomePod. But at the moment, this is what I was able to do. I'm able to send and receive messages, so I can have Siri read out a message once I get that message in, or I can tell it to, hey, send this message to such and such. That's all fine. Now, if you want to set timers, that's fine too. If you want to put a note in your Notes app, you can also do that. And lastly, if you want to set a reminder for a certain thing, you can do that as well. But that's pretty much what it's able to do as far as assisting you on the HomePod. So the first thing that I tried to do besides listen to music, which we'll talk about here in a second, was make a phone call. I thought that was really simple to do. I said, hey, call this person, and it said it wasn't able to do that. That was kind of a bummer. So the workaround with that is you would have to call from your iPhone first, and then send the call to the HomePod, and then you can just talk directly through the HomePod. Now it can get you the latest news from different sources, but it's not able to even tell you your own calendar events, which leads me to my next thing, which is recognizing your own voice against other people. So that means if you have this in a household of different family members or friends come over, anybody can just say the Siri command and read your last text message or even send any text messages to anybody. So that's another thing that needs to be improved. It needs to recognize people's voices because I'm so used to that with other smart home devices. Now the HomePod is able to play music directly speaking into it using Siri, but you will have to be a subscriber to Apple Music. So you can say a command like, hey, play this song by this artist, and then it'll start playing directly on the HomePod. You can also use Siri commands to play and pause, skip a track, or even skip a certain amount of seconds in that song or go back a few seconds. So voice control using Apple Music is great. It's also able to play podcasts. And for those of you concerned about Spotify and everything like that, unfortunately, Siri is not able to do that. Yes, you can actually still play audio from other streaming services like Spotify, SoundCloud, all that good stuff, but you will have to use AirPlay, meaning you will have to use an iOS device in order to get that going. So in order to play anything else besides Apple Music is loaded up on your iOS device or even Apple TV or Mac, and then AirPlay it to the HomePod. So personally, I love listening to music on SoundCloud, and also I use Spotify as well. So I'm able to play that, but I can't use Siri commands to skip a track or go back a track or anything like that. I can tell it to play and pause, but it's just going to play and pause my iOS device or whatever device I'm streaming AirPlay on. Now I don't want to completely bash the HomePod because it is a speaker, and for a speaker when it comes to sound, the quality on this is pretty nice compared to its competitors. Actually, I'd say probably the best out of all of them. Now I know through video you can't really get a good impression of the audio quality, but put on some headphones and listen to this and you might get an idea. Hey Siri, turn the volume to 50%. Hey Siri, turn it up to 60%. Hey Siri, turn it up to 70%. Hey Siri, turn it up to 75%. I live in a 1-bedroom apartment, and blasting this to its full volume definitely gets really loud. And actually I was pretty impressed with the bass that it had. It's not too heavy, but it definitely is there. Now I'm not an audiophile, but I can tell you from a casual listener, this definitely does the job. Now I've actually been using Google Home and Alexa around the house. And one of the things that really bothers me is the fact that I have to sometimes speak very loud in order to get them activated. But I put my HomePod in the furthest corner in the living room and then just went to my fridge, and surprisingly, with just barely speaking, like if I was talking to someone face to face, just using the normal tone, it actually picked up my voice and was able to do whatever command I wanted to tell it. So the microphones on this was definitely impressive as well. Definitely picked up the voice very easily. And something to note is if you do have the volume at max, you can still just say the Siri command and it majority of the time picks up even if there's loud music. So I definitely give Apple a thumbs up for the microphone and also sound quality. Now another thing is if you use HomeKit, the HomePod is something else that can help you activate everything around your house. So I personally use smart bulbs around my apartment, and I'm easily able to activate those, and also have an August smart lock so I can lock and unlock my door using the HomePod itself. So if you are a HomeKit user, having a HomePod around you and just simply saying, hey, activate this or turn this on or whatnot, it does the job for HomeKit if you are tied into that. So overall, here's my quick verdict of the HomePod, the good and the bad. Kind of already elaborated on them, but should you get a HomePod right now? And my answer to that is maybe. If you are an iOS user and are invested into Apple Music and needs a speaker that the sound is pretty much top notch, then the HomePod is definitely something to consider. Now, if you are not an iOS user, meaning you use Android, this is definitely not something for you. You can't use Bluetooth. You can't actually even set up this HomePod with your Android device. You have to have an iOS device. There's no Bluetooth capability. There's no auxiliary input either. And going back to what I said in the beginning, if you are in the Apple ecosystem, this is something to definitely check out, but it just still doesn't feel like it's finished. Though Apple never mentioned that the HomePod is going to be your voice assistant along with a speaker, with it having Siri on it, I expect it to do everything my iPhone can do with Siri on the HomePod, and it just seems like it's lacking a lot. Also, when they were announcing the HomePod at the keynote, they're really pushing these features where you can create stereo sound with a second HomePod, and also able to add another HomePod so you can simultaneously play one song on every HomePod that you have at home using AirPlay 2, but that feature is not even available at launch on the HomePod. So there's a future update coming out. I just feel like for $350, this not only should have that good sound, which it does, but also be able to do more, not only with their voice assistant, but also more features like support for other music streaming services. Yeah, I understand Apple Music, it's Apple, but then again, hey, it is Apple. Can't always get what you want. That's pretty much my take on it. Let me know your thoughts in the comment section below. And as always, if you did enjoy this video, hit that like button below, as it not only lets me know that you enjoy the video, but it also supports the channel. Also, if you're not yet following me on social media like Instagram, Twitter, and Facebook, feel free to hit the links down below in the description. And let me know your thoughts about the HomePod. Did you pick one up? And if so, what color did you pick it up in? Also, do stay tuned to the channel. Be sure to subscribe to the channel and hit that notification bell. That way you'll be notified when I come out with my latest videos. Let me know what you think in the comment section below. What do you think about the HomePod? I'm interested in knowing your thoughts. So let's start a conversation down below, or send me a tweet or Instagram message. All right, guys. Thanks a lot for watching. Hope you enjoyed the video, and I'll catch you guys on the next one. All right. Peace.